Okay, well, welcome everybody to this video short. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how to have both an effective and fun transformation workshop. I'm Danielle Chenal, and I'm with Inspire Innovations. And the first step in our methodology when we tackle a process or operational transformation project is to take a big picture look at the process. And that includes kind of starting with who the customer is for that process, what the goals of the process are or of the improvement initiative, and then a high-level look at the process. So we're not really at the level of kind of flowing it out and trying to analyze the workflow as much as we're trying to look at the big picture. And we're trying to collaborate on ideas. And so we do this in an in-person workshop. There are tools that you can use to do it online as well, but generally we do it in person. And you can see the picture there is kind of the outcome of the workshop. And we usually do this in about 4 to 6 hours. So I want to kind of do a little role playing with my team so you can get a feel for how this works. So we start with who is the customer of the process. So we would, as a group, kind of talk through it, and we would write sticky notes and get them up on the wall. And so I'll kind of ask my team to participate. So Kate, who would be one of the customers of the appeals and grievance process?
The members.
Members, yep. We would have members. And Margaret, who else would be customers of our process?
How about providers?
Providers, yep. And I just put CP for contract and NCP for non-contract providers. And then we would continue on. We would add, the family members, the representatives of families, physicians, doctors, provider groups, right? These are all the people that are customers of our appeals and grievance process. The next step would be to look at goals. And you can kind of define goals in one of two ways. Goals of the process. What are we trying to provide to our customers? And goals of improving the process. So we can look at it in both ways. And so I kind of kick things off here. And, I think obviously two of the key goals is to ensure good customer and provider satisfaction, right? We want to be able to handle these appeals in such a way that we drive customer and provider experience satisfaction. So again, I'll ask my team, what are some of the items you see, Margaret?
Well, how about stars ratings improvement?
Stars ratings, absolutely. Appeals has a couple of direct measures for stars, but we can also utilize complaint data and things like that to get insights for stars. So yeah, absolutely wanting to improve our star ratings. And Kate, you have any goals we can add?
Accurate case resolution.
Accurate case resolution. Yep, we want to try to get these systems processed as accurately as we can, right? Margaret, any others?
How about accurate regulatory reporting?
Accurate reporting, absolutely. And then, again, we would continue to brainstorm out the goals and the goals of the process. And one thing I'll point out is that there's no right answer, right? This is all about collaborating as a team, discussing these things as a group, and kind of coming to a common understanding, a common way of talking about things, and just aligning, right? So that's really a big benefit of doing this. And then the last piece would be the suppliers of the process. And so who provides input to this process? More often than not, the customers are going to automatically become in your, go into your supplier category because they're providing the complaint or the appeal, right? But there's other suppliers to this process, your other departments, right? The clinical department for clinical decisions, the claims department for input on the claims or to adjudicate a claim, the pharmacy department, your partners and delegates that may handle the decisions or claims for your organization. There's all other types of suppliers. That's the first step, and we usually spend maybe an hour on this part of the activity. The next step is going to be to break down the process into just a few major macro activities, right? Again, we're not trying to get to low-level workflow. We're trying to see the big picture of the process. So for appeals and grievances, generally you're going to have something that looks something like this. You have an intake function, a triage function, an investigation function, and resolution, right? So usually that's the types of groupings that we would come up with. And then what we're going to do is we're going to break these down. Again, we're going to kind of role play this a little, and we're going to discuss how we would do it in the workshop. The first thing we would look at are what are the inputs to the process. And those would be things like faxes, emails, physical mail, right? Maybe you have a web portal. Maybe you have multiple portals for your member providers. Phone calls that come through customer service, right? So these are going to be all the ways that we capture these appeals and grievances. And then what's the expected output, right? The expected output is we're going to capture a case, we're going to get it into some type of a queue, whatever your mechanism may be that how you're currently doing that today. And then there will be different activities, right? Again, I'll kind of ask my team, what might some of the activities be? I forgot, so I got to look. So Kate, what would some of the activities be that we would perform in intake?
Entering case notes.
Entering case notes, right? Capturing it in the call center and putting case notes onto the case. Margaret, what would be some of the activities from your perspective?
Scanning the intake documents.
Scanning the intake documents, right? So whether you do that in your mail room or in-house, or maybe you outsource that, scanning documents. And we would kind of continue to talk through all of the activities. Again, no right answers, no right order, just brainstorming it out. We would talk about the roles. What roles are involved in this process? And how many people perform them? A lot of times we'll put like a number, so we'll have customer service and we'll put a number under it for customer service reps, mailroom or staff or a third party that does that. So we'll capture that. We'll capture the technology that's used, right? So maybe your call center system, maybe it's Salesforce, maybe it's something else. Maybe you have a capture system like Kofax or what have you, right? And then we would talk about the pains that we have in this part of the process. And then what might some of the opportunities be to improve these pains, right? So, maybe it's we're rekeying too much data. We're doing things manually. We end up with the wrong member associated with claims that are scanned or documents that are scanned and so on, right? And we would brainstorm and call all that out. The next major piece we would follow suit. So we would do the same exact thing for triage and the same thing for investigation and so on. And we would continue on in this manner. A couple things I'll point out. First, we try to time box each section. If you are going to do the first piece in about an hour and then you break this down into 4 or 5 pieces, you generally want to try to keep each one to no more than an hour. And in terms of pains, you can also choose to let people do this anonymously. Maybe there's some things, whether they're political, whether they're just not comfortable, so you may give people their own sticky notes and markers. They could write them down and then put them in a pile and we can get them up on the board so that people don't feel obligated maybe to point out pain points when they don't want to be, known for calling those out. So this will end up being the result. So you will end up with a really clear picture of everything in front of you. What tends to happen and what becomes kind of really enlightening when you do this is that first, a lot of times you'll see that if you solve a problem in the front end, it won't kind of continue to carry into other downstream aspects of the process. And you kind of see that when you see the whole process collectively. The other thing is you'll start to see patterns, right? And again, so as you start to think about what ways could you improve, if you solve one thing, you could potentially solve 5 things, right? So that's what's really helpful about seeing the whole thing at once. It also brings together stakeholders from different groups that may not have necessarily discussed these types of things before in the past. The benefits, clarified goals, new insights for executives. I would encourage you to include executives, even if it's only in the first hour and the last hour. It may give them some new insights that they didn't have with this process. It'll help highlight the major pain points and major problems. It'll help improve your cross-departmental understanding of things, and it can help you identify where to focus your energy on process improvements, try to help you prioritize those initiatives. The outcome of this we usually put into Excel. So we take everything off the wall and we transpose it into like an Excel template that we have that follows the way that we structure it on the wall. And again, it'll help us kind of focus on next steps and how to then prioritize those. And that's usually the next step in this process, is to go ahead and begin to prioritize those initiatives. So what will you need? You will need a whiteboard or a wall in order to do this on. If you're going to do it electronically, there are tools that let you do this. It's a little trickier, but it can be done remotely through like Zoom meetings. Ideally, you'd allocate about 6 hours to it, and I would encourage you to invite your executives, at least your VP of Appeals and Grievances, if not, definitely somebody from your operations group. Get someone to help facilitate it. Now, of course, we're saying that we are consultants. We do facilitate these types of meetings, but it tends to help keep things objective, keep them moving. So sometimes an outside party can really help, or get somebody from your operations team to maybe help facilitate. And make sure that you have the right resources, specialists from different. Hopefully, this was a quick video on how to hold a great process transformation or process improvement workshop. Again, if you'd like to learn more about us, you can visit our website. You can check out some of our other videos on our YouTube channel. Thanks for checking out our video today.